All right, we've got some Cincinnati Bengals news for you, Bengals fans. Look, obviously, the season did not go the way you wanted it to. Of course, the Joe Burrow injury was the number one driving factor in that. If Burrow was healthy, I think we all could agree this Bengals team would have made the playoffs, probably made another deep playoff run, but that didn't happen, unfortunately. Now all eyes are focused on the offseason and doing whatever they can to keep this core group of talented players together to keep this championship window open. And we got some great news involving one potential unrestricted free agent and him wanting to return to Cincinnati. This is a great sign for the Bengals. Good start to the offseason. Let's pull up the report. This is from All Bengals, and then we'll talk about it more on the other side. All right, T. Higgins has the Bengals. Obviously, T. Higgins, the unrestricted free agent, who's a great wide receiver, has the Bengals as his, quote, number one option right now, unquote, entering unrestricted free agency. The playmaker discussed his future with Bleacher Report's Scott Plasek. It means a lot, Higgins told Plasek. Then telling me they want me to come back, man, it's family. We've been playing together for 3 or 4 years now, and I personally would love to be back playing with those guys. It's not in my hands now, but when the time comes and Cincinnati is there, here's the key part. That's the number one option right now. All right, this is obviously a great sign for the Cincinnati Bengals. I truly believe when it comes to these free agents, if they want to stay and potentially take a pay cut, they will do it, right? If they're in an environment they like, if they're with teammates they like, if they're in a city they like, and according to Higgins, he likes everything about the Bengals right now, the environment, the team, the talent, the potential to win a Super Bowl, and he wants to stay in Cincinnati. And if the player is motivated and the team is motivated, which I think the Bengals are, it usually works out. Usually, it comes down to the agents and the GM negotiating dollars and cents and figuring out the right number there. But if the player is motivated to stay, I think that's the most important thing. I think he will stay. And who can blame Higgins, right? Would you rather go to like the Commanders, make a little extra money and win 5 games a year? You want to go to the New York Giants and maybe make the playoffs, most likely go win 6, 7 games? It's not appealing as the Cincinnati Bengals are. Obviously, if Bro is healthy, they're one of the top teams, not just in the AFC North, not just in the AFC, but in the entire National Football League. And the fact that Higgins really wants to stay in Cincinnati and views him as his number one option, I think is a great sign for the Bengals and a great start to their offseason. Myers, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this first, but Bengals fans in the comment section below, look, obviously this season didn't work out the way you wanted it to. Give us your favorite moment from this past 2023 season. There were some good moments, especially early on in the year. Give us your favorite moment from this past year and put it in the comment section below. And if you appreciate this content and like our channel and want to support us, please consider becoming a member. There's a link in the description box below to our membership. But Myers, let me throw it over to you. What do you think of this news involving Higgins for the Bengals and what it means for Cincinnati going forward?
I think it's really positive news leading in a great direction. I think there's a couple other factors involved in this, which makes me believe that T. Higgins definitely is going to stay with the Cincinnati Bengals. And a couple of those reasons are, Nick, is why do guys leave? Obviously, the main one would be if you get a really good offer from a really good team, namely, I think of Tyreek Hill going to the Miami Dolphins. That sounds like a great offer. But outside of that, what are some of the other reasons somebody would leave a team? That is because the Bengals are a really good team. So I don't think, another team's going to be able to match the offensive firepower the Bengals already provide T. Higgins. Number 2 would be going back home, being able to play in your home area. Higgins being a guy from Tennessee, growing up there. Then he played in the Carolinas. You look at the 3 teams surrounding that area. Falcons, no head coach, no quarterback. Titans, no head coach, no quarterback. Panthers, no head coach, no quarterback. So, I mean, this is really not very enticing. I don't think he's going to go back home because obviously they don't offer him anything outside of potentially offering him money, which I think the Bengals are probably going to compensate him very well. And then the other reason why I think he'll stay at the Bengals is he may not get all of the money that he is hoping for purely because of his injury history. I think they say he's played 65% of the Bengals' total snaps over the years that he has been there. People look at injury history. A best ability, obviously, is availability. Higgins has been very, very good when he is healthy. Had a little bit of trouble staying healthy. So I think the Bengals, he's going to stay there. He's not going to go home, take some hometown discount because none of those teams offer him anything that's very beneficial. I think maybe even the Bengals will get him for a price that they can keep him for. Obviously, Jamar Chase has a big contract. Joe Burrow's got a big contract. There's a lot of money on this Bengals team. So Higgins is going to take a reasonable price due to his injury history as well. So I think everything's lining up pretty favorably for the Cincinnati Bengals to get T. Higgins back for the right price.
And let's go into the dollars and cents here to see how this will shake out. So right now, going into the offseason, the Bengals have $60 million in cap space, right? Obviously, they have to sign draft picks and make some smaller moves, and they may cut some players. But let's focus on the 60 million number and let's make it 50 million, just because teams like to have 10 million to play with once they get into April. So let's talk about the 50 million, right? Obviously, Higgins is an unrestricted free agent. Jamar Chase is going into the last year of his deal. If you look at the highest paid wide receiver on an annualized basis, average per year, that's Tyreek Hill in terms of cap hit, 30 million bucks. Devontae Adams is at 28. So let's say they lock up Jamar Chase for $30 million, right? They go the absolute high market in and give him $30 million. That still gives him $20 million in cap space to play with in terms of Higgins. Higgins, I think, is a smart guy. He knows he's not the number one. He knows he can probably make mid-tier money. And if you go down the list, I think of guys who are very comparable to Higgins. I look at guys like, if you go, you look at Christian Kirk for the Jaguars, Deontay Johnson for the Steelers, Amari Cooper for the Browns. Those guys are in that 18, 19. Mike Evans for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is another great example. Those guys are in the 18 to $20 million range annualized per year. I think that's more the group that Higgins aligns with himself in terms of production and talent, especially when you consider the injuries like you noticed. So again, 30 million bucks to Jamar Chase if they give him the absolute high end. $18 million to Higgins, that kind of where he fits in. If you look at the other guys around him contract wise, that's 48 million bucks with that allocated to those two guys for the long term. The Bengals still have $12 million in cap space to play with. And of course, they could obviously cut and restructure other guys if they needed to open up space for other moves as well. So the point is the dollars are there for the Bengals to make these moves to keep their championship window together. And the key factor is, again, like we hit it on the opening, Higgins is motivated to stay in Cincinnati. I don't think that means he's going to go out and try and get a 25 million annualized deal from another team. I think he'll be happy with somewhere in the 15 to $20 million range, maybe even a little bit less, depending on his injury history. And because he's motivated to stay with the Bengals, I think he will resign Cincinnati. There's reports a strong indication of that. And again, a great start to the offseason, because the most important thing for the Bengals is to keep this core group together. And it looks like they're well on their way to doing just that.